The luxury watch market is currently sitting on a time bomb, and if you have bought a pre-owned Rolex in the last 5 years, there is a terrifyingly high chance that you are wearing that bomb on your wrist right now. We are not talking about the cheap junk fakes you find on a street corner. We are talking about a sophisticated fraud that has completely erased the line between real and fake. This is the era of the Franken-Watch. It is a scam so effective that it is fooling major authentication centers, trusted dealers, and potentially you. The market is currently flooded with watches that are half genuine and half clone, and they are trading for full price. The trust you think you are buying, it's gone. Before we rip the lid off this scam, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't get played by the luxury market. The reality of the current market is grim. We are looking at a crisis of authenticity that threatens the entire $53 billion luxury watch economy. For years, we have been told that if you buy the seller, you are safe. We have been told that if a watch has an authenticity guarantee from a major platform, you are protected. That is a lie. The game has changed, and the scammers are winning. The United States is currently witnessing an unprecedented surge in these Franken-watches. Unlike a traditional counterfeit, which is made entirely in a factory in China, a Franken-watch is a hybrid. It is a chimera. It is a monster stitched together from genuine Rolex parts and high-precision Superclone components. Why is this happening? It is not because these scammers love watches, it is because the math is horrifyingly profitable. It is a convergence of 3 things: greed, technology, and a broken legal system. Let's look at the taxonomy of deception. In the old days, a Franken-watch was just a repair job. Maybe a watchmaker in the 80s fixed a vintage Omega with whatever parts he had lying around to keep it ticking. It was honest. It was utilitarian. But today, it is weaponized fraud, what we call these super Frankens. This isn't a repair strategy, it is a manufacturing strategy designed to steal your money. Here is how the scam works, and it relies on something called the Sum-of-Parts Arbitrage. You need to understand this to understand why you are being ripped off. The shortage of steel Rolex models at retail created a grey market where prices exploded. A steel Daytona that costs $14,000 at retail trades for $26,000 or more. When a watch is worth 3 times its retail price, every tiny screw and gear inside it becomes liquid gold. This created a part-out economy. Unscrupulous dealers take a fully genuine Rolex Submariner and they gut it. They strip it like a stolen car. They remove the movement, the engine of the watch, which they can sell loose for over $5,000. They sell the dial for $1,500. They sell the hands. Then they take the leftover skeleton, or sometimes just a high-end fake case, and they rebuild it. Here is the math on a Submariner date. The scammer buys a high-end Superclone base watch from a factory like VS Factory for about $550. This fake gives them a case, a bracelet, and a movement that functions almost exactly like the real thing. Then they go to the secondary market. They buy a genuine black dial for about $1,500. They buy a genuine sapphire crystal for $350. They buy genuine white gold hands for $450. And they buy a genuine date wheel for $150. Their total cost to build this monster? About $3,500. Then they list it for sale. They list it as a genuine Rolex Submariner. They might list it for $13,000. That is a great price, right? It is slightly below market average, just enough to make you greedy, just enough to make you pull the trigger quickly. When you buy that watch, the scammer nets a profit of $10,000. That is a 300% return on investment. That beats the stock market. It beats real estate. It beats drug trafficking. And the risk, virtually zero. The reason this works is psychological. It exploits a brain hack called anchoring. When you pick up a watch, your brain looks for one specific thing to tell you it is real. Usually that is the face of the watch. The scammer knows this. They know you are going to stare at the dial. They know you are going to check the print quality. So they give you a genuine dial. It is crisp. It is 3-dimensional. It is flawless because it came out of a factory in Switzerland. Your brain sees that perfection, anchors on it, and relaxes. You stop looking at the rest of the watch. You assume because the face is real, the engine must be real too. This creates a halo effect of authenticity. You could be holding a watch with a fake movement, a fake case, and a fake bracelet, but because that dial is real, you will swear on your life that the watch is legitimate. Now you might be thinking, I would spot a fake movement? I know what a Rolex sounds like. No, you wouldn't. And here is why. The Chinese manufacturing syndicates, specifically groups known as VS Factory and Clean Factory, have achieved a level of engineering parity that is frankly terrifying. They aren't just copying the look, they are copying the tolerances. Let's talk about the engine. For the Submariner and Datejust, the scammers use a movement called the VS3235. In the past, fakes used generic movements that were loud and had the wrong power reserve. A real Rolex 3235 caliber runs for 70 hours. Old fakes ran for 40. That was an easy test. But the new VS3235 Superclone movement? It has been reverse engineered to match the genuine Rolex architecture. It has a 70-hour power reserve. It winds the same way. It sets the same way. Crucially, it is interchangeable with genuine parts. A scammer can take a fake movement and install a genuine Rolex balance bridge on top of it. If you open the back of the watch and look inside, you see a genuine Rolex part staring back at you. You see the branding, you see the finishing. You close the case, thinking you are safe. You are not. For the Daytona, it is even worse. The Daytona was always hard to fake because the real movement was incredibly thin. Fakes were always too thick. They sat high on the wrist. It was an instant tell. That is over. There is a new clone movement called the Dandong 4130. It is a ground-up clone built in a specialized factory in China. It matches the genuine Rolex thickness of 12.2 millimeters exactly. It has a fully functional vertical clutch. It has fully functional chronograph pushers. A Franken Daytona built with this movement, a genuine dial, and a genuine bezel is dimensionally perfect. It sits on the wrist exactly like a genuine Daytona. It winds like one. The buttons click like one. Unless you take it apart and put the gears under a microscope, it is indistinguishable from the $25,000 article. This brings us to the scariest part, how these things are getting to you. You might think you are safe because you buy from big websites with authenticity guarantees. You see that little check mark and you think a master watchmaker spent hours inspecting your purchase. Think again. The mass authentication services used by major platforms are failing. The authenticators are under immense pressure to move volume. They have quotas. To truly spot a Super Franken, you need to disassemble the watch. You need to remove the movement. You need to take off the hands and dial to check the setting mechanism. Do you think an authenticator at a massive logistics hub has the time to do that? No, they risk damaging the watch. So what happens? The watch arrives. It has a genuine case. It has a genuine dial. It has genuine hands. It runs within spec because the clone movement is actually quite good. The authenticator opens the back, sees a movement that looks correct at a glance, and passes it. They slap a guarantee card on it and ship it to you. You wear it for 2 years thinking you own an investment. Then you send it in for service and you get the bad news. There are horror stories all over the forums. People buying watches that passed authentication, only to be told by independent watchmakers later that they are wearing a Frankenstein monster. The dealers are also part of the problem. Not the big established giants, they usually have good labs, but the backpack dealers, the guys on Instagram, the guys on WhatsApp. The consignment model is the weak link. A scammer sends a Franken-Watch to a middleman dealer. The dealer doesn't have a master watchmaker on staff. They do a visual check, list the watch, sell it to you, and pay the scammer. By the time you realize you have been scammed, the scammer is gone and the dealer is left holding the bag. Or worse, they deny it. Social media has accelerated this. Deals happen in 10 minutes in private Discord groups. A photo of a genuine dial and a timestamp is enough to move a $15,000 asset. The speed of the flip discourages deep verification. If you ask too many questions, the dealer just sells it to the next guy. So what happens when you get caught? What happens when you send your investment to the Rolex service center? This is the kiss of death. Rolex has a zero-tolerance policy. If you send a watch with non-genuine parts to them, they will refuse to service it. Best case scenario, They demand you pay to replace every single fake part with a genuine one. That bill can run into the thousands. You are effectively buying the watch twice. But it gets worse. If the core of the watch, the case or the movement, is fake, they treat it as a counterfeit. They will return the watch unserviced. But before they do, they may record the serial number in their internal database as altered or blacklisted. That serial number is burned. That watch can never be officially serviced or authenticated again. Its resale value drops to zero instantly. You are left with a very expensive paperweight. In 2024, the courts actually made this even stricter. There was a lawsuit, Rolex versus BeckerTime. The court ruled that even customizing a watch with aftermarket parts turns it into a counterfeit in the eyes of the law. This means any non-genuine part destroys the integrity of the trademark. This legal precedent empowers Rolex to go after dealers. But for you, the consumer, it just confirms that the ecosystem is hostile. You are walking through a minefield. So how do you spot them? The sad truth is, visually you probably can't. The old tricks do not work. We used to look for the laser-etched coronet, that tiny little crown etched into the glass at the 6 o'clock position. Fakes used to make it too visible. But guess what? The Franken-Watch uses a genuine crystal, so it has the correct laser etching. That test is useless. It only proves the glass is real, not the watch. We used to look at the hand stack on the GMT Master. Genuine movements had the hour hand at the bottom. Old clones had it wrong. The new clones? They have the correct hand stack. The only way to know for sure is forensic scrutiny. You need to look at the balance wheel. Genuine Rolex movements use a free-sprung balance with microstellar regulating nuts. The clones often try to fake this look, but they usually still rely on a regulator arm to adjust the timing. However, the highest-end VS3235 movements have started hiding this regulator arm or moving it to the underside to mimic the genuine look. The tell is now microscopic, rough machining marks on the bridge that you can only see under a 20 times loop. Are you going to bring a 20 times loop to your meeting with a dealer in a coffee shop? Are you going to ask them to open the case back so you can inspect the bridge architecture? Probably not. And that is why the scammers are winning. This brings us to the ultimate pessimism of the situation. This isn't just about a few fake watches. This is about the collapse of fungibility. The secondary market relies on the idea that a submariner is a submariner. It is supposed to be a liquid asset. But the Super Franken destroys that liquidity. It introduces a persistent, invisible risk. We are entering an era where unopened watches should trade at a discount. We used to pay a premium for stickered or unworn watches. Now, that sealed status is a liability. If you can't open it to check the movement, you have to assume it is a Franken. The advice for the American buyer is stark. Assume every deal is a scam, treat every perfect dial with suspicion, and never ever trust a watch you haven't seen naked, meaning movement exposed, verified by a third party that you hired, not one the seller provided. The luxury market thrives on the illusion of exclusivity and value, but right now it is eating itself alive. The genuine parts are being stripped from real watches to create armies of high-grade fakes. The snake is eating its own tail, and you are the one paying the bill. Rolex has created this monster through their own scarcity games. By starving the retail market, they created the grey market premium that makes this fraud profitable. They built the incentives that are now destroying the trust in their own product. Before we wrap up, just a quick reminder, nothing in this video is financial advice. The market is volatile and, as we have seen, full of traps. Now I want to hear from you in the comments. Given the risk of super Frankens, would you still buy a pre-owned Rolex Submariner today? Or would you take that money and buy a brand new Omega or Tudor from an authorized dealer where you know it is real? Let me know your choice and why.